We're going to start today with our first actual credit. Oh, we did too. We did the child tax credit. We talked about I introduced credits versus deductions, and we talked about the child tax credit, the fact that it's split into a refundable and a non-refundable part, that it phases out once your AGI hits certain limits. And I think you had one, did you have one on 2 of your cases this chapter, Anderson? And the one in the book also has a child tax credit, yep. Yeah, and the manual one too. We've got a new credit, $500 for dependents that aren't a qualifying child, right? So that's new. Okay, so should we try one of the examples? Where do you start phasing out when you're married, filing, and jointly? $400,000. So Kendra and Lynn are taxpayers. Their kids are 25, 10, and 3. They all have valid Social Security numbers. Their AGI is 432.2, and they filed jointly, plus their child tax credit, assuming all of their children are qualifying children. I would a 25-year-old be a qualifying child. Doesn't full-time student go away to 24? It's 24. 24.
Oh, 26 is insurance, never mind.
Yeah, 26 is insurance. 24 is when you're, what's the only other explanation that they would have a qualifying child at 25? Permanently and totally disabled. But I didn't tell you that, so just assume the ones in the appropriate age brackets. The 25-year-old isn't, this is a little bit of a misnomer, just assume that 2 of them. Oh, yeah, sorry. Let me make sure that's what I did. Yeah. Oh, okay, so let's back up, sorry. The other situation, could you have a 25-year-old as a dependent that wasn't a qualifying child? What would that situation be? Go ahead. Yeah, they live in your house and you meet all 5 of those parameters. They don't make more than $4,150 a year. They're a U.S. citizen. They're not married, filing joint. Blah 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 blah. But then it would really be. Then the question would be. It would be this, wouldn't it? Because a qualifying child is different from a what? Qualifying, what's that other term, relative? Okay. So, yeah, so their 25-year-old is a qualifying relative.
Can I do a side step for a second?
Sure.
It's chapter 7, right?
Yes.
Because there's no PowerPoints in here for that. It's on, so you've got 6, but not 7.
Okay, so start working on this and I'll get that posted. Okay, write those numbers down, please. Really, all you need is the 432.2. Okay. You think it seems really easy?
But I might not do that.
Okay, I will post these when we're done talking about them. I can't post them while they're up. So what would be, if their AGI was 43,000, what would the credit be?
40,000.
If their AGI was only 43 grand, what would their credit be? 4,000 plus the 500 for the qualifying relative.
Oh, we are using.
Right, that's why I said, yeah, I changed this, assuming all of the children are qualifying and one credit.
So, yeah.
4,500 is what I hope they have, but they have to phase it out. How much are they over 400,000? Obviously 32.2. Then remember we divide that by 1,000 and see how many chunks of phase out there are? How many chunks of phase out are there? You always round up.
We round up after.
So you get that 32.2 and then you just pop it up to 33. It could be 32.0001 and you'd still pop it up to 33. Times 50, right, is the phase out per dependent. 33.
said that's to each one.
$1,600 reduction. One more time. Is it 1650? Oh, crap. Okay. So, okay, it's right here. Yep. So they get the 2850. So there's each increment is a $50 phase out essentially. Okay, basic issues around this. You've seen this all on your, I'm sure on your tax returns. Everyone's got to have a taxpayer ID number or social security number. If you erroneously claim it and get busted, then you can't claim it for 2 more years after that, or 10 years if you were fraudulent.
I missed something with the last slide.
Okay.
For your number that you came up with?
Yeah.
The 1650 would be the reduction.
Yeah.
Of the 2,000 they wouldn't get.
Well, they have 2 qualifying kids and 1 qualifying relative.
But per, so would you do 16,000 or 1,650 times 2 and then deduct that from the 4,500?
No, that's the total phase out. The 1650 is the total phase out.
But on Tuesday, you had said that it was per kid, so you do 2,000 minus the.
Did I? Where did I say that?
Oh, yeah, you did, well, yeah, 450 per kid was plus.
Oh, credit is 2,000 per child. However, it phases out when these things happened. Credit is phased out. I don't see here anywhere where it says per kid. If I said that, that must have been an error. Let's look at this. Don?
I feel like you had looked something up. I don't remember for sure.
This was 48 whole hours ago. Don't stress me out. So did we not do the Dante and Sharon example?
I think you, I don't know, I saw with 2 kids, I don't have names on it. 480,000.
Okay, can we keep going and will somebody look it up in the book? And if we don't get an answer there, we'll go to irs.gov. I'm pretty sure both of these examples indicate that's the total phase out. So I guess I'd have to believe that that's correct, because I was obviously had the research open in front of me when I was writing the slides. I'm sorry, guys. I just honestly, can you see what you go through every year trying to stay current? This is the biggest tax legislation change that we have seen in 40 years. I mean, since Reagan. So I think collectively, a lot of us are all still trying to process it. I think I'd probably be more astute if that's all I did for a living, but it's just, I really am only in it during my tax practice and then when I teach this class. So.
Wasn't there a law passed about reasonable or understandable language? Why are taxes following this?
Scott and I just read an insert in the book that talked about how the complexity of tax law has elevated with the ability of our computer modeling to be so convoluted. I mean, if you think this is crazy, try and read stuff around estates or gift taxes, which are aimed at really high income people. It's all legalese. I really can't even parse it out. I don't have the legal knowledge to parse it. I'm reading the words. I know what the words mean, but I don't know what it says. This slide's right. Yay, I got a second on it.
Okay.
So it's in total. It's not $1,650 per kid. It's $1,650 in total.
So the 4,500 minus.
$1,650.
Okay.
So if I did say the per, and that actually, that totally makes sense because the phase out calculation would be greater than the 500 in many situations, so that doesn't really make sense. So it's in total. You add up what you think the whole credit would be, and you do one calculation for the phase out, and then subtract that from what you wish the whole credit would be.
So it's 500 for anyone, non-dependent child.
A qualifying relative
Because you're using 2,000 times 2 for 2 kids.
under 17
Well, I know, but on the calculation, you're getting 2,000 times 2. So.
plus 500 for the
so
qualifying
the
relative.
For 2 kids
Right.
instead of just for.
Yeah. Yeah.
You could do it either way, I guess, the way you got it here. Okay. I get it.
Are we all pleasantly confused, or are we
Yes,
clear?
I think I'm there. We'll see if I retain that.
Okay.
It was good.
And then the other thing about child tax credits, and I believe earned income credits now, is, people are like, they get their W-2 on the 8th of January and they run down to whatever what's the name of the preparers? H&R Block or whatever. And because you can get refund anticipation loans. I mean, there's a whole kind of, honestly, set of predatory lending built up around tax refunds. But you can no longer get your child tax credit refunds before February 15th. Why do you think they instituted that? So they want a chance to cross-check. So we're divorced. We both run down on January 9th with our W-2s and both claim the same kid. They're not going to have a chance to cross-check that.
They're going to come back and bite you in the butt now.
Oh, it'll completely. But in the meantime, he disappears off the face of the earth. And I don't get my check. The kid's with me. And he got the money.
They have all the expense of trying to get that money back.
Yeah. And honestly, when you really start, like I said, looking at this tax law around like gift and estate taxes, nobody is worried about $1,800. These examples in gift and estate taxes, 18 million, 80 million, 800 million. I mean, that's who they're going after. An auditor isn't like looking for Scott.
Oh, I just read something that they go after low income people because it costs them too much to go after the high.
I can count on one hand how many audits I have ever seen of somebody under 50 grand a year. Almost none. Right, right. Okay, earned income credit. This is a negative income tax. In other words, it's all refundable, can get a refund even if you have no tax liability. So I'm low income. Go ahead.
I was just curious about what Scott said, and Googling it, it says taxpayers who make more than $1 million a year and those in very low income brackets are most likely to be audited.
Huh? I don't think I think I could count on one hand how many low income people I've seen audited. And I can guarantee you that it would be around fraudulent Social Security numbers for EIC or theft of taxpayer identification fraud. Because there's really, what are you going to get out of very low income people? Okay. So can you get earned income credit if you have no kids? You can, but it's a really small amount. Okay, and there's real stringent rules. I think you have to be between 25 and 65. You can't be a full-time student, and it caps out at a really low income level, like does it say you're 13 or 14,000. Whereas if I have 2 or more kids, can I get it if I'm married? Yeah. If your earned income together is less than, what, around 47, 48 grand, changes every year. You can't get it if you're married filing separate. these valid social security numbers, obviously that's what they're after. You've got to be a U.S. citizen all year. And you can't have unearned income of more than $3,500. What are they talking about there?
Rentals,
Yeah, rentals, what did you say? I don't know that Social Security, that's a really good question. Social Security is definitely not earned income. This pertains to rentals, interest, capital gains, dividends, sale of stocks and bonds. It's investment income. I don't believe that things like Social Security or alimony impact this. Okay, you can get EIC even if you don't have a qualifying child. Excuse me, right here, you've got to be between 25 and 65, but it's a really small amount. It'll pop up every now and then, and it always surprises me. You know, I've got a guy that flips cars for a living. You know, he buys them and he wrenches on them and sells them for a living, and you know, all year long he makes $9,500 on his Schedule C. So what's the bad news for my guy that does that?
he has a very unhappy girlfriend.
No, he's kind of a loner. He lives up in a hut on Evero. I think maybe he's got a girlfriend. I've never honestly asked. But what's his problem? $9,500. Is he going to owe income tax? What's his standard deduction?
Oh, no.
Yeah, he's not going to owe any income tax. What's his problem? $9,500. Wrenches cars, flips them. Self-employed. He's self-employed, you guys. 9,500 times 0.153 times 0.9235. $1,300 he's going to owe. Holy crap. Right? You think he's got that sitting somewhere when he's living on $9,500 a month or a year? He's a hunter and gatherer. He is indeed a hunter and gatherer. And from what I've seen, he doesn't spend a lot of have a heavy investment in wardrobe. So lives pretty light. But he's going to owe $1,300, but then the earned income credit for somebody without kids will pop up and take that down. So let's all work on this together, please, this chapter. So he'll get like a $280 earned income credit. So I'm like, well, good news and bad news. The good news is you got a $280 earned income credit. The bad news is you still have to come up with $1,030. And then he walks away and I never see him again. Which is honestly, this sounds horrible, but with clients like that, over the years, you kind of learn to get your fee up front. You know? I mean, it's horrible to say, but it's like, you know, I can estimate what I think my fee is going to be. He's got a Schedule C, he doesn't have any kids, he doesn't have Schedule A, da-da-da-da. I'm like, yeah, it's going to be $180. You know, I'll kind of get that. It usually comes in a big wad of cash, you know. Yeah, it's a Purell. No, I'm kidding. I'm not kidding.
So with this, when they're not, it's not a child, it's for them, how do you determine how much they get?
I'm sorry, say that one more time.
They're getting the earned when they're not a child, or they don't have a child?
Right. How do you determine? There's a chart.
Okay.
It's a chart that looks just like the one for, it's actually one big chart. It says you got 0 kids, you got 1 kid, or you got 2 kids. I don't think it's replicated in your book. It is replicated in the book? Okay. You need to turn in some sort of time card for supplemental assisting the professor.
Do a test out option.
Yeah, seriously.
Beforehand.
You did try and test out of this? Oh.
I didn't know this stuff.
Oh, no, okay, you just are a quick learn, yeah. Okay, so a taxpayer can get EIC with a qualifying child. We know that. And we know that more than one person can't claim a qualifying child because that gives you head of household status, right? And then you get that child as a dependency. That doesn't buy you anything on your federal tax return, but it buys you, how much is it per dependent on fed or state, like $24.80 or something? That sound about right?
That number sounds right for something.
$24.40? Yeah, that's what it is. I think it's 2440. So that's all great. But you can get EIC even if you're not taking head of household or the dependency exemption if they live in your house for more than a half year. So, and honestly, there's a chart that I could pull up from that document I was just showing you that I'm doing my CPE on. So there's potentially 4 benefits from a kid, right? There's head of household if you're single. There's the dependency exemption for the child that you get the write-off on your state. There's the child tax credit, which is huge. And then there's the child and dependent care credit, right? So there's 4 distinct, and that's not even counting college or anything. There's 4 distinct possible benefits that you can get from having a child. And I think I will do that after I get through the lecture. And, huh? Yeah. Been there, done that. I'm a grandma now. That just shows on one piece of paper what the requirements are for each of them, because it's not uniform. It's not uniform. Some of them you need to provide more than 50% of the support. Some of them they need to be in your household more than 50% of the year. Some of them you need to have it granted on the custodial or divorce decree. So I will do that right at 11:50 and have you guys take a peek at that, and then I'll try and pull that out of the PDF and save it. That would be a really good referencing for all of us, myself included. Same thing here. If you claim the EIC fraudulently, you lose it for 10 years, the ability to take it if you just had reckless disregard for 2 years. Again, you can't get the refund until February 15th, and we all know the dreaded due diligence checklist. When this first appeared like 3 or 4 years ago, and I'm like, oh my God in heaven, because I mean, how many questions are there on that thing? 30 maybe, 25, 30 questions. Once I get into tax season, then you kind of know what they are, and you click. But I mean, as you well saw, Shiler just saw, it will not give you your credits, and then you try and go like, screw this, I'm just going to override it. You can't file electronically. If you do override, I don't think I've ever told you that. So probably 85, 90%, probably 85% of my clients now file electronically. If you try and muck around something in the software and override, it won't, you can't e-file. So really the only people that I do paper filing on, I've got a client in Mali, Africa. I've got a client in Rome, Italy, and both of them, I've never figured out how to do the foreign earned income exclusion without overriding it, so I have to do that paper. Basically scan it and send it to them, and they do a signature, send it back. I'm trying to think who else there's a couple things that I've just never figured out how to do in the software, so I force the override, and then you can't e-file. So I guess lesson is you probably should figure out how to do it properly. But when you're sitting there on April 10th, you're just like, I'm slamming this thing through and doing it paper. So to calculate it, it's an Appendix B. It shows up on line 66A in the payments section, which that should jump out at you as being what, a refundable or a non-refundable credit? Yeah, refundable. Refundable credits are treated just like payments, aren't they? So you get back all the tax you paid in plus the credit. Okay, child dependent care credit. This is another good one. First thing that you need to be aware of is that if you pay for your child care with flex dollars, can you use those same dollars to try and get the credit? No, and so this is a tax planning thing that you would say to a new client walking in the door for you that has child care. If they have an employer that has a flex plan, you would sit down and do the calculation and tell them which was most beneficial. That's how you add value. And you wouldn't bill them for that. You'd say, hey, I did a quick calculation and you're going to benefit more by using flex dollars, or you're going to benefit more from the credit, the child and dependent care credit. So it's the dependent's got to be under 13, and the child or dependent has got to be living more than 50% of the year in the household, but does not need to be your dependent. See why that little chart's helpful already? So you've got 4 different things. So the only thing that gets tricky about this, you have to take the qualifying care costs, and then there's a sliding scale. So if you look on page 719 in your book, let's just take a look at that scale. There's one thing that should jump out to you right away when you look at the percentages on page 719. So I think it starts at like 35% of your costs. Anything jump out at you at how the percentages shift on that table? Is that correct, 719, or is that the 2441? Okay, do you see the little chart there? Oh, yeah, the chart's on the 2441. Anything interesting there to you? Does it phase out? If I make $500,000 a year, do I still get it? Yeah, that's kind of weird in my mind that you get this credit when you're super high income, you can still get it. Right? Where does it, and it changes at like 50 grand or something? How much?
43,000.
Yeah, so 43,000 and 430,000 of W-2, we get the same credit. So I think that's just sort of interesting. Okay, what are the qualifying care costs? It's in and out of home. If you send your kid to Y camp during the day, that's fine. But you send them to, because that's childcare during the summer, right? But you send them to the camps that are financial, because you send to camp and, made crafts and sang and swam. And now, I mean, if you look at like the day camps for kids, I mean, rocket ship camp, and I mean, they're just like super niche specific camps, and they're really high priced. Huh? A week or 2 long, or 2 weeks long, yeah. So they can't be educational in nature. They've got to be fun things.
So if you take them to a preschool.
Preschool is not included in here.
Preschool, if that's their daycare, they're like under 5 or something.
Preschool is not included in here because there's an educational component.
So
It's the word school right in there.
So what if it's a daycare that's an accredited school for preschool type stuff?
And your kids 2, then you're fine. 4. If your child, let's see, I read this too. I'm going to answer this off the top of my head. If your child is age appropriate for the curricular component, you're not going to get it. If it's, like you said, preschool but your kid's not of curricular age, then you can still take it. I actually looked this up for a couple of years ago.
So financially, it's better to send your kid to a daycare than a preschool.
Right, but again, this credit's not going to end up being a big amount of money. You're not going to make that decision, but yes, they answer that overall. Of course, the preschool is going to cost more too than just a straight out daycare, right? If there's a curricular component. They're pretty equal. Really. So here's the scoop. What if I make 40,000 and my husband makes 5,000?
You make 45,000.
You make 45,000 together, but the credit is limited to the lesser of 3 things. Earned income of the lowest earning spouse. I write down 40,000. I write down 5,000. Then I have to write down what the actual bills were. But in no situation can it be more than 3,000 for one dependent or 6,000 for 2. So when you do this, or when I do this, or when you do this, and anyone does this, so that example I just gave you, say my actual bills, my daycare bills were $8,800. I have 2 kids, and I earn, my W-2 is $26,000, and his W-2 is $4,100. So the way to do this, first you go and pull out who's ever got the lowest W-2, right? Earned income. So I do this. How much can I take? And then how much is my credit? How much can I take towards to the chart? 6,000. No, 4,100.
Oh, you can't go, yeah.
So once you find out who's got the lowest, cross out the other person, and then it's, I want to take all my bills, but I can't, because there's always a $6,000 limit, but you can never take more than the lowest earned income. Got it? We'll do another example. So now go to the chart and figure out how much my 2441 credit's going to be, assuming nothing else happened. No other income, no other deductions for AGI. What's my AGI?
30,000.
Yeah. And what am I multiplying by what to get the credit? One more time? 0.2, is that right?
No,
No.
Okay, that sounds a little bit better. Because I can still see if it goes all the way down to 20%, starts at 35, goes down to 20. So they're still kind of at the lower end. So which of these three numbers do I get to multiply by 27%?
41.
You're limited to the limited to the lesser of the earned income of the lowest earning spouse, or $3,000/$6,000. But obviously you can never take an amount more than the bills. No, 3,100. So that's a nice little credit. 800 some dollars? 1,100? Oh yeah, my head is just in the clouds today. Yeah, that's close to 30, which would be, yep. So let's try one more. The key to this one too, that gets people really cranky with you, this will get kicked out if there's not a TIN of the provider that matches a Schedule C, or some sort of indication that as the provider, I am reporting my income. Right?
So we have like a random.
So my next door neighbor's like, I'll watch a kid for $100 a week after school. Awesome. I get to the end of the year and I go to my tax provider and I'm like, I paid $5,200 to have my kiddo watch after school this year. And the tax provider, me, is going to say, awesome, what's your next door neighbor's name and social security number? So then you march next door and go, hey, Kim, what's your social security number? Kim's like, I give you my social security number. Well, my tax provider wants it. Kim's like, I don't know nothing about nothing, so I give it to her. Or more likely, and then Kim gets a letter, hey, where's your Schedule C? Or more likely, Kim's going to be like, I'm not giving you my social security number. So then you come back to me and I'm like, I mean, I can't take this. So it's just something people don't know until they know it, and then they always know it.
I had an instance a few years ago where it was a licensed provider, and at the end of the year, she was providing me documentation, but I had all the receipts and stuff. But I'm the tax day, and it was double tax, and they just said, there was a box with each tax that said, I'm able to get a hold of them. And I called them, left messages, and it's left to go through.
They let your 2441 credit go through. Interesting. See, I've had a couple of those kicked back. Not for a number of years now, probably 3 or 4 years ago. Because it's only been fairly recently they started doing that cross-check. I'm going to tell you, probably 4 or 5 years ago they started doing the
I
cross-check.
think it was about 7 years ago.
Okay. I don't think that would fly now, but I haven't had the situation because I put it right in my tax letter to everybody. I try and protect surprises. So in my tax letter that I send out in a couple weeks, prepare for this. If you're going to be taking the education credit, I need to have your tuition statement. If you're going to be taking kids, you need to verify that your co-custodial parent isn't taking, blah, 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 blah. Okay, let's try one more of these. So Joanne has a salary of $58,400, and she has investment income of $2,100. And this I probably didn't tell you about. Lou, her spouse, is a full-time student. If you're, let me see, do the math really quick in my head, 500, 250. Okay, if you're a student, for purposes of this calculation, you get to take $250 a month if you have one kid of earned income, imputed earned income, or $500 a month of imputed earned income if you have 2 or more kids. So for purposes of this, we're doing that comparison. So say Lou was only in school 5 months. Then he would get to take 5 times what? Yeah, but they've got, I think they've got 3 kids.
So it'd be
500 a month. Okay. So see if you can sort out how much their child dependent care credit is with this fact set. And then how would this change if Lou is not a student and he works part-time and earns $3,000? And Joanne also had an employer-provided dependent care assistance program. What does that mean? Huh? Not flex. An employer, like employer-provided dependent care assistance is when your employer's like, I recognize the really high cost of daycare, and I'm either going to provide something on site for you to let your kids stay in for free, or like in our case here, we've got a childcare over our main campus, and it's, I believe, subsidized for students. So that's like an employer-provided dependent care assistance. Okay, so let's just try the first one. Do you want to do it together? Guys are all just looking at me like, ah. So I always start by writing down the 4 things. So in any situation with 2 kids, what's the limit? 6,000. Then just write down the actual bills are how much? How much are the actual bills up there? 12,800. Okay, what's the W-2 of the worker? 58,400. Then he doesn't work, but he's a full-time student. One more time. I'll show you where it shows up. It doesn't show up in any of these 4 numbers off the get-go. But where does it show up when we're trying to calculate AGI? So how much income can we impute for Lou? Well, he's got 2 kids, so how much do I get to impute per month? 500. And you can see what this number is going to become. How many months was he a student? 12. Go ahead.
I mean, like, he's taking summer school, like, constantly.
Yes. Yeah, he's in year-round school, like our coding schools here, year-round. He wants to get through school.
Yeah, life support, why wouldn't you?
So the first thing is knock out the highest one of these. Obviously, it's her. Then I really want to take the actual bills. Is there any way that that's going to happen? No, because it's over the limit. And then, so I know what the limit is, and I'm limited to the lesser of these 2 numbers. This actually happens to be the same. So I get to take the $6,000 to the charts. What number am I taking to the chart? Their AGI. And now think about this. Is this in the AGI? No. That imputed income is just a number I calculated the tax law tells me I have to do. That doesn't show up as AGI on his tax return. Okay. So figure out what his AGI is. So I think the AGI, what, is 60,500? So a flat 20%? So $1,200? Does that sound right? Okay. See if you can do the same, writing these 4 things down for the second situation. So now we've had a student, now he works part-time and earns 3,300. What are you gonna do with that 2,200 bucks of employer-assisted dependent care money? Yeah, you gotta subtract it from the 12,8. Yep. So, same 4 things, right? Limit 6 grand. How much am I gonna put up here for actual?
Subtract the employee pay.
Yeah, yeah. And then just put in a line next, I think, just to do the AGI. Amanda, are you still with us? This must be fascinating, all this dead screen time. I assume you're working through it on your own.
What?
I'm talking to this Amanda, the one on cyberspace. Everybody misses you. Okay, so of those 4 numbers, the $6,000 limit, the actual of 10.6, the 2 W-2s, obviously, what's the first thing I counseled you to do?
Cross off the lowest.
The highest.
Oh, yeah, got it.
Cross off the highest, okay? And then I just thought I'd cross off the 58 then I go through the whole thing. Well, I want to take the actual. Can I do that? No. Okay, well, the limit's 6 grand. Can I do that? No. It's limited to the lower earning spouse's W-2 income, 3,000 bucks. What's their AGI? 61.4, but you forgot the investment income.
Oh, what?
2,100. No difference. Once you hit whatever that number is, 43,000, it's a flat 20%. So they get 600 bucks, right? Okay. Okay, I'm going to just start doing a couple slide introduction to ACA. Obviously, it's also called Obamacare. You guys probably, which of these 2 taxes on that first bullet do you know about? The 3.8 or the 0.9? The 0.9, where'd you learn about that? In payroll. When does that kick in? Do you remember? How much? Yeah, if you're single, right? And 250 if you're married filing joint. Is that an employer match tax? No, it's just the employee has to pay that. That's one of the taxes that partially funds Obamacare. The other tax that also will every now and then creep up on a tax return, and I never catch it till the software spits it out, is called the NII, the Net Investment Income Tax. It's a surtax on high income people that have investment income. So like last year, it crept up out of the blue. I've got a doc and his W-2's $280,000. And then he does a bunch of consulting for, hospice and the courts. And he has another $80,000 W-2 from his consulting work. Okay. And then he's got a few rentals and a little bit of money in the stock market, blah, blah, blah. And his tax return spits out, and I'm like, why does he owe like $3,000 more than I thought he was gonna owe, right? And they go, and he had the NII. Once you get to that same 2 and 250, you pay an additional 3.8% surtax on your investment income. Gains and losses on sales, stocks and bonds, interest, dividends. Okay,
Just on investment.
just on investment
Is
income.
it like on the total, or like how much you cashed out, or how do they?
Just those numbers, total interest plus total dividends plus total capital gains. They don't like it, obviously. Okay, certain taxpayers are exempt. You can see what that is. Okay, last thing I'm going to leave off on today is Happy Halloween. It's 11:50. I am going to, however, let's see if we can find that